Yes, good afternoon. It's not morning, is it? Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Welcome back to Football Heritage TV. Just a quick hour lunchtime show today. A lot of talk lately has been, are we playing the right formation? And in football fan bases, there's always talks, isn't there? There's always talk of, does the formation matter? Does it change anything? Is it the personnel? Well, let's look at it. Let's look at it today. I guess that there's pros and cons to everything, right? There's pros and cons to everything. I am a believer that different formations against different setups can work. I don't think that different formations suddenly make your players better in terms of output. And what I mean by that is, do I feel that there's a place for going to three at the back? Yes, I do. For PSG, for example, is a prime example of that. Do I think that going to three at the back suddenly means that our forwards are going to be productive, hold the ball up, getting lots of shots off? I don't believe so. I just don't believe that's the quality. So I think there's a fine line, isn't there, between formation versus personnel versus what's going to work. So I'm a believer that you need goals, right? Obviously, you need goals. I say I'm a believer. I think every football fan's a believer that you've got to have goals. You've got to have goals, right? Without goals, you don't win games. The question is, do we have any natural goal scorers across this squad at the moment? Where are the goals coming from? Having lost Sonny's goals, Maddison's goals, Kulu's goals, where are the goals coming from? Now, Kudus, we know, as good as he is, isn't a prolific marksman, is he? He's not a guy that you would say is going to get you 15, 20 goals a season. None of them on the left wheel, in terms of Tell, in terms of Odegaard. Richarlison's never, ever been that guy. Solanke's been that guy once in his entire career for Bournemouth a few years back. Brennan Johnson, we know, can grab the odd goal, but is he a natural goal scorer or is he an opportunistic goal scorer? So when you look across the team and you look and you go, right, where are the goals? Where are the goals in this team? Now, I think we can all agree that we probably need to buy goal scorers. But that doesn't really matter right now because we are mid-season. We are in the middle of a season, and unfortunately, the transfer window is not open yet. Now, there are lots of people screaming out for the three at the back, right? For the three at the back. And I've got nothing against the three at the back. I've got nothing against the three at the back. But it begs the question, doesn't it, of three at the back, who in our squad does it suit and who does it not? Who does it get the best out of and who does it not? Now, again, we're just football fans having a chat. You know, none of us are football managers. None of us can sit here and go 100%, this will work, this won't work. Just having a football chat. That's all it is. This isn't Football Manager. None of us know. But I want to have a little look at it. And I want to see what would you lot do? Because I am somebody that, do I think, for example, that we need to go to three at the back at home against Copenhagen? No. I would say probably no. Do we need to go three at the back against Man United? I don't know. Would you need to go three at the back against PSG? Bayern Munich's? I would probably say yes. But I do feel like there is a time and a place for everything. Now, listen, I'm somebody, I don't think there's as big a drama as many do. I know that from looking around the Spurs, the Spurs fans, especially online, you would think that we are bottom of the table and we lose week in, week out. I am not one of those people. I think that we're building and developing, and I think it's going to take time. But let's have the chat. let's have the chat. So let's, by the way, if anyone, thank you to whoever just bought me a coffee. Very, very generous. George, thank you. Really, really generous, mate. Just bought me a coffee. And let's see what he said. He didn't say anything. He just bought me a coffee. How very generous of you. So thank you very much, George. Really appreciate that. The rest of you, just smash the like button. If you haven't subscribed, please do. We're well on the way to 24,000 now. We've just, over the weekend, gone over the 23,500 barrier. And we keep moving. We keep moving. Hello to each and every one of you. And I'll get to your comments after we've had a general chat. Dog, get down. And we'll take it from there. We'll take it from there. So if I bring up this screen, so what I've done is I've left it blank, to be honest. I've left it blank. So I've gone to the old, I believe they used to call it the old Terry Venables Christmas tree formation. Now, obviously we can play about with this, but I was looking at ways of, okay, so we go to the back three. Cool. Which means, listen, some people call it a back five. Some call it a back three. I really don't care what people call it. You know, the wing backs are wing backs. The three centre backs are centre backs. Now, this formation, the reason I picked this formation, sorry, bear with me 1 second. Who's that? The reason I picked this formation is I thought that what this did allow was to get Simmons and Kudus both on the pitch at the same time in dangerous areas, to give maybe a little bit more chance creation from central areas. Now, some people will disagree with that. Some people wouldn't want to see both of them together. And immediately it asks the question, doesn't it? Does that take away from Kudus' skill set? Now, I don't know. I don't know. Is Kudus being out wide on the right, is that best for him? Would he be better coming in centrally? Will he have the joy of running at players as much as he would out wide against a fullback? Horses for courses, right? Horses for courses. But let's put in some players and we'll just see where we go with this. Listen, by the way, I'm not saying, guys, that I would necessarily go to a back three. I'm just asking the question. I know that people won't listen to that bit, but I'm just responding to a lot of people that have been saying we've got to go to a back three, Now, of course, going to a back three does also depend very much on having 4 or 5 centre-backs fit in the club. You can't have 2 to 3 fit centre-backs and say, right, we're just playing wing-backs today. Because if one of them gets injured, it's very, very difficult, isn't it? Because you've then got to slot someone into a back three that isn't a back three player. And then does it undermine what you were trying to do? So let me just put some players in. And we'll see where we go from this. We'll have a chilled conversation today, if that's possible, within the world of Spurs. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter which goalkeeper I put in here. But obviously, it's going to be Vicario, but it doesn't really matter because they're not going to really be on the screen. Now, I would think my brain naturally gravitates towards this. Oh. My brain would naturally gravitate towards this. Let's have a look. And then we go Simmons. And then Kudus. And then Moani. Right. So that's where now this isn't set in stone. I'm just chucking some players in to start. Now, this is what I would perceive in a back three formation would be the best 11 right now with who's fit and who's available. Yeah, we can have the conversation about Kulusevski and Madison and Radu Dragashin and Solanke. But right now, this is what I would probably say if we moved to a back three. By the way, not every game. These are just hypothetical conversations. That for me would probably be the best 11 we could put out. Now, what you've got there is you've got Danso, Romero, and Van der Ven that have always played, that have all played, in a back three before. Okay, so they've all played in a back three before. So it's not like, oh my gosh, that's going to be brand new to any of them. Van der Ven has, Danso has, and Christian Romero has as well. Now, people can talk about, does Danso go in the middle or Romero in the middle? For me, I just thought it was better for Danso to go in the middle because he is the more natural header of the ball. He just wants to be involved in all the dirty work, throwing his body on the line. Whereas the other two, for me, are more pacey that bring the ball out. So as teams attack behind Udogie and Porro, I'd rather Romero was pushing out to the right and Van der Ven pushing out to the left than Danso pushing out to the right. But horses for courses. Now, that for me is a very comfortable back three. I've got no problem if that was the back three. Now, do I think there's a need to play that back three every week? No, I would not want to see that every week. I would not want to see that against bottom half teams. I would not want to see this really at home. I think there's a time and a place for it. Just putting that out there right now. Now, what this does do is, for me, I think the major benefit to this, and I think this is what I'm about to say isn't rocket science. The major benefit to this for me is very much Porro and Udogie. Now, I've been really, really disappointed with Porro this season. I think he's been dreadful. Listen, we know he's a good footballer. I think this is more of a this is form versus quality. I'm not saying he's not a good footballer, but what we are seeing from him is some very sloppy passing. His positional sense as a defender has always been in question. But what I do think is I think this allows him to get closer to Kudus, to link up, to overlap, and for us to start seeing some of that excellent crossing that we know that Pedro Porro provides. And we know that, right? We know that that Porro can deliver excellent crosses. We know that. Udogie. Now, Udogie is a really interesting one for me because Udogie seems to have had a very stop-start Tottenham Hotspur career to date. Lots of injuries. Can't ever really get a run of 15, 20 games under his belt. Constantly injured. But what I do know is what I saw of him when he was a bit younger, by the way, but when I saw of him at Udinese, was he was much better when he was asked to play as a wing-back than, again, as a full-back. We know that he's got tremendous power, tremendous athleticism. I do think that his final ball needs working on, but that's not a problem. You know, lots of players develop that as they get older. But I do feel that that allows Udogie, as we said, for Porro to link up with Kudus and overlap. It allows Udogie to link up with Simmons and overlap him as well. So what I do is I do think it offers us genuine width with a right footer on the right and a left footer on the left. I'm a big fan of the old school. I think that would be very beneficial for those two players, especially. And I think it takes a little bit of the defensive burden away from, especially Porro, more so Porro than Udogie. But I don't think Porro and Udogie are fantastic fullbacks. I think they're very good footballers. I don't know if they're fantastic fullbacks. So I would say that as a back three, back five has its uses in certain games. Again, I will keep reiterating this. I do not think there are I think there are a lot of games where I don't feel you need to see a back five and two centre midfielders. I think there are a lot of games where that would just leave us very, very short going forward. Now, for me, we look at Bentancur and Paulinho in that middle two. And I'll say, I don't care what anyone says. Nothing I've seen from nothing I've seen from Sarr, Bergvall, or Gray has made me think that any of those should be starting in front of these two. Now, lots of question marks about, is Paulinho an out-and-out DM that would be better not playing in a 2? Well, I mean, he played that way for Fulham, didn't he, where he was absolutely excellent, and he's been excellent so far this season. Bentancur, for me, again, I'm not saying that we don't need to upgrade on Bentancur in the future. Of course, I'm not saying that. But I do think he is the best of an average bunch of midfielders, an average bunch of midfielders. I've said this all along. I know that really annoys some people, but you know, there is only so much you can do with certain players. There is a limit to where teams can hit. There is a reason why the Man Cities and the Liverpools and the Arsenals do so well, because they don't buy lots of average footballers. They buy a lot of top class footballers. Not rocket science, is it? The more quality you have in your team, the better the team you are. It's always been the way. It will always be the way. That's no, that's nothing detrimental to any of our players. I'm not putting them down, but you know, you are to a degree only as good as the players that you've got. So for me, I think that would be the two in the midfield that I would play. Paulinho can offer you the protection. And Bentancur as well, actually. When Udogie and Porro fly forwards, when Udogie and Porro fly forward, it still offers you the protection to the back three, doesn't it? It doesn't mean you've just got three at the back. You've got Bentancur and Paulinho that can both, mop up, both work hard, both good in the air, both good at tackling. So it does offer you some defensive solidity. Van der Ven, Bentancur, Paulinho, Danso, Romero is very, very strong. Now, are we strong with this going forward? Because this is the question for me. Xavi Simons and Kudus. Now, we've got them starting as number 10s, but what this formation allows them to do is drift wide, right? It allows them to drift out left. So Udogie can underlap Simons if Simons drifts left, and Porro can underlap Kudus if he drifts out wide. But what it does is it allows a little bit more link-up play in the middle between some creative footballers. Now, obviously, we talked about Xavi Simons last night, and as I said, I think this is a player that's going to need time to settle in. He just strikes me as that type of player that needs some time to get going. You know, what we've seen of him in the past, we know he's a good player. So I think he needs time. But we know of Kudus' immediate qualities. We know that Kudus doesn't need time. We know that Kudus is at the races now. Now, would those two linking up be beneficial for both of them? Would it be beneficial for both of them? Two technically proficient footballers, competent footballers on the ball. And again, as I said, we know that Simons is that. We just haven't seen it yet. So does that help both of them in terms of holding up the ball, retaining possession, trying to thread through balls to Kolo Muani? I don't know. I don't know, but unfortunately, Paul, that's not how human behavior works, unfortunately. I see this all the time. Just because you pay top money for a footballer doesn't mean that they just go, boom, Dan. That would be the dream, that every footballer hits the ground running, but they don't. Look at so many footballers that are signed up and down the country in every league. Some of them hit the ground running. Some of them don't. That's just unfortunately the way it is. Unfortunately, we detached emotion and common sense from revenue and money. Just because, listen, you could buy me for 100 million or you could buy me for 10 million. I'm still the same human being, right? I may take time to develop. I may take time to settle into my new club, to my new surroundings, my new home. Now, that's not the same for everybody. It's not. Look across the league. Yeah, look at someone like Voldemort of Newcastle. Seems to have settled in really quickly. Settled in very quickly. Then you look at people like Florian Wirtz, Xavi Simons. They haven't. And I know that people don't want that. And I get it. I get it. We want every player to be amazing. But imagine we lived in that world where every single signing hit the ground running. Every single signing hit the ground running. It would be a very different league. This is a great example. This is a wonderful example. Ryan Gravenberch, when he first came in, I remember a lot of people saying, "Oh, I don't know about this lad. What's going on?" But Ryan Gravenberch was sensational last season in his second year at Liverpool, right? So it's, it's all very, very easy to turn around and go, "We paid money. You must be amazing." I get it. We all want it. We all want it, but there are managers that come to a different league and take time to adapt. Look at Iriola, right? Everybody loves Iriola now. When he first came in, everyone was like, what is this guy? This guy can't win a game for love nor money. Now everyone's talking about, oh, this is the guy, Iriola. He should be getting big jobs, and we want him at Spurs, and Man City can replace Pep with him. And it doesn't always, it's not an exact science. And I think that's the key thing. And I have to remind myself of that sometimes. It's not an exact science. But yeah, Gravenberch, and it's difficult. It's difficult, right? Some people hit the ground running. But look at a lot of the footballers that moved this summer. A lot of them that moved. I mean, some have hit the ground running, some haven't. And you never know why. Family, new home. Some people are still living in hotels rather than their house. Some people, it's a different set of teammates, different tactics, different formations. We'll never see. Luka Modric. I saw Johnny talking about this earlier, actually, on Football Inc. Said, when Modric first came to Spurs, people are saying he wasn't good enough, wasn't strong enough, wasn't ready. When he went to Real Madrid, they said he was the worst ever Real Madrid signing. He's then gone on to be one of the greatest players that's ever played for the club. So it's like, there's a lot that we've got to take into account here. There's a lot that we've got to take into account. And I get it. Listen, we're all, by nature, we're all very, very needy as football fans, aren't we? We are. We all want everyone to be brilliant. I want Xavi Simons to be pulling up trees. I want him to be getting 2 assists and 2 goals every game. I want to see him setting the world alight. But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. Didn't happen with Eriksen when he first came to Tottenham. Didn't happen with Son when he first came. Gareth Bale when he first came. We could go on and on and on and on. And that's just the way it is. So back to this system. So you've got Simons and Kudus that I think it would benefit them in terms of having link-up play with each other. I think at the moment, Kudus doesn't really have anybody to link up with. Simons, obviously, we know is finding his feet. And the question will be, Colomawani, is he that guy? Now, I've seen, in the last few games, I've seen little glimpses of Colomawani running off the ball, holding the ball up, getting into the channels. Have I seen any glimpses of him as a predator, as a predatory goal scorer? No. Now, that could be down to many different reasons, couldn't it? Spurs not creating for him, the difficulty of the opposition. When his games have come against the likes of Newcastle and Chelsea, right? So, but for me, I think this works. I don't want to see this at home to a Copenhagen. I'll be honest. I don't want to see it at home to a Copenhagen, right? But let me know in the chat. What do you think? Sorry, just having a bit of chocolate. What do you think? Anton, I'm just having a chat, mate. I'm not saying we should go to this. I'm just saying, look, I agree with you. I think it needs time. I'll be honest. I've been a bit overwhelmed, Anton. If I'm brutally honest, I feel like the meltdown we're seeing, doesn't warrant what's actually happened. I feel like the meltdown we're seeing would suggest that we're like where Wolves are. But hey, each to their own. James, but you've got to ask yourself this question. This isn't about me seeing this. You've got to ask yourself this question. For the last 4 or 5 games, Spurs haven't had 3 fit centre-backs. So again, something like this isn't possible. So to play this sort of formation, you've got to have the personnel. To play this formation, we've not had a Dogie fit for the last however many games. Romero for the last however many games. So when we're saying this, I do think people sometimes, these type quicker than this thinks sometimes, right? These type quicker than this thinks. This formation, I think there is a time and a place for it. But you couldn't have done this the other day because Spurs had 2.5 fit centre-backs because Romero just come back from an injury. So you can't start a 3 at the back when one of your centre-backs isn't fit enough to play 90 minutes and you'd have no centre-back on the bench. However, when you've got a Dragoshin back, Takai back, Davis back, you've got options, haven't you? You can play the back 3 and then you've got people on the bench. It's very, very difficult. It's very, very difficult to just put this formation out there if you do not have enough fit bodies. That's very difficult to do that. And I think Thomas Frank would know that, right? And that's an interesting one. For me, I think Jed Spence could play on the right and Romero to move into the middle. I think that would offer Jed Spence, allows him to go over to the right-hand side and close down in behind Porro. I do agree with that as well. Yes, I think he could. I'd want him on the right, though. I wouldn't want him on the left or... Well, actually, to be fair, he could do the job on the left-hand side as well, just not in the centre for me. So, you know, James, but up until now, we haven't really needed to. We've not been doing bad defensively and we've been scoring lots of goals. So there hasn't really been a need to do it. You know, you've got to remember, for managers to do a complete tactical change, something drastic needs to happen. They're not just going to do it. Well, yeah, but Sam, I think there's difference in listen, the 0.05 XG at home. I mean, first of all, as a football fan, I don't talk about XG, so I don't really think that warrants a meltdown. Second of all, most sensible football fans used to just go, "God, what an awful game. God, let's not see that again and let's move on." Now it warrants and now, unfortunately, because of fans that have your mindset, right? Because of fans that have your mindset, that's all you can focus on now is the 0.05 from that one game, and he's got to change everything, and it needs a meltdown. Listen, calm heads need to prevail, and this is why I'm glad we got this manager, right? Because the manager's calm. Imagine some of these people like this. Imagine people like this that lose their minds at anything, right? Imagine they were the ones managing a team. You need calm heads. When things go badly, you need calm heads. They always say, don't they? When there's an emergency, when there's a fire in a building, when there's an emergency, the people with the calm heads lead. The people with the calm heads prevail, right? Unfortunately, people like Sam Smith now seems like a nice enough guy, but panic, meltdown. First of all, the meltdown doesn't really do anything. Second of all, everyone is now grasping to this 0.05 for one game. Before that, we were the top goal scorers in the country. So am I going to have a meltdown because of one game we never looked like scoring? No. Now, if we do this week in, week out, if we were to say for the next 5 games, we had I don't really I'm not a child, so I don't really care about 0.05. James, have I done what badges? Sorry. My coaching badges. Yes, I have done my coaching badges. Yeah, I used to work in pro football. Good times. Thoroughly enjoyed it. By the way, sorry, just quickly, Jay, not putting words in your mouth. Are you saying this is an emergency? No, I don't think there's any emergency. I'm just trying to play along with. I'm just trying to play along with the rest of YouTube that melts down over everything. I don't think there's any emergency at all. I just think it was an absolute shocking performance. I know in 2025 we're not allowed to say shit performance, move on, but look, if we see this again against Copenhagen and against Man United, yeah, people are going to start. Yeah, I get it. But it was an awful performance. I don't see the need for the meltdown. I don't see the need for the meltdown. And unfortunately, as I said, the 0.05 XG thing, that is now what everyone is hanging on to. That is now the driving force, isn't it? That's where we're at with 2025 football fans. I don't think there's a meltdown. I think we are right at the beginning of a managerial change, an ownership change, a coaches change. I think that we're right at the beginning of that. And what I like when I talk away from YouTube with sensible football fans, just have normal football conversation and everyone isn't at a head loss. When I'm on YouTube, I just see that everyone just goes mental. You know, we've played 10 and we've won 50% of them, lost 3 and drawn 2. I would say that's probably about right for where this squad is. I get it. We want to watch better football. I completely get it. But I don't. I feel that if we're going to go mad, as I said in my show yesterday, right? What will happen is for the fans that want Thomas Frank out, which is absolutely crazy. You get in a next manager and then you're giving him 10 games as well. And we're now in an era, you would then be in an era of you got 3 or 4 different managers in a season. And the players are getting 3 or 4 different sets of instructions, 3 or 4 different sets of coaches. And from a building perspective, from a longevity perspective, it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable to keep doing it. It's not. But yeah, listen, this is the problem, isn't it, Lord Rodney? This is the problem. I use this example. I'm not sure if you saw yesterday morning. I used this example yesterday. Let's just say in the hypothetical world for the fans that do want the manager out, the Iriola joins, right? Iriola joins the football club right now. What are we doing? Giving him 10 games. We're giving him 10 games and saying, go on, make us amazing to watch. You've got the same players, but make us amazing to watch. I don't know. Do you know the problem is, and my brother who doesn't even like football said this to me yesterday. I was talking to him about this. And he said, the problem is now, he said, we're in the internet era where the kids that have grown up now are now. He didn't say now. That's my phrase. He's always now. He said, whenever anyone has built anything in the world, it takes time. And unfortunately, the Spurs fans don't want to go through any pain at all. We don't want to go through any pain at all. It must be good to watch immediately. Right? It must be good to watch immediately. Don't worry that it's not been good to watch for years and years and years, but it must be good immediately. Right? It must be free flowing, even though you haven't got the footballers to play the free flowing way. We must score loads and loads and create loads and loads, even though our creative players are all injured and we didn't buy a striker or a left winger. And I think what you're going to see here is those that are willing to wait and those that are willing to understand things take time and those that are not. And unfortunately, that's just the way it is. Now, for those that are not, the next manager is going to find himself in the exact same position. Because whatever happens, and again, I keep using Iraola as the example. Please don't be in my front door. Hang on, who sent me this? Oh, God. Somebody sent me this. Apparently, Kudus, Bergvall, and Spence all missing from training today. I don't know how true that is. I genuinely don't know. I genuinely don't know. So you've got to ask yourself the question. Now, let's move away from that for a second. You've got to ask yourself the question, right? That if no fans are willing to go through any sort of pain, any sort of build. Again, you guys, any of you that watch me regularly, you know I never use the word rebuild because rebuild suggests we're rebuilding from something, and I don't think we are. I think we need to build. Anyone who builds something, it takes time. It takes time, doesn't it? You look at Glasner. When Glasner took over Palace, they didn't look like this. It took him time to get them like this. When Iraola took over Bournemouth, they didn't look like this. It's taken him time to get to this stage, hasn't it? Right? But unfortunately, I can always tell people's ages by their comments. That's one thing I think I can tell, right? But when we're saying Vinay and the board won't have the patience, do you really think Vinay Venkatesham and the board are looking right now and thinking there's any sort of panic at all? Absolutely none. It's you. It's fans like you that are having the panic, not them. Right? This club, I said this yesterday morning. This club has just changed everything. Everything in one summer. Manager, coaches, director of football strategy, performance director, medical staff, CEO. Levy's gone and we've got a new non-exec director. The whole club has changed. And within 10 games, everyone's going, oh, this is not good. This is not good enough. This is crisis. And I get it. If we're at the end of year one and we're not seeing changes and nothing's developed, then I get it. But we are 10 games into a season with a lot of injuries. We're not at the bottom of the table, right? And this is why I just can't understand. My brother-in-law was over yesterday, and he's a Chelsea season to get older. Lovely guy as well. And he said to me this. He just said to me, do your fans realise you finished 17th last year? And I said, yeah, but they don't. A lot don't. He said, if somebody held a table and went, look now and look last season, most people would go, yeah, doing a good job. But we've gone the other way. We seem to think that a new manager coming in and you sprinkle stardust and everything's amazing. I get it, right? When you have lots of injuries, you make yourself harder to beat. Okay, you can't play the way you want to play, but you make yourself a bit harder to beat, don't you? And you get a bit of luck along the way, sure. You have some bad performances, sure. You're going to have some defeats, sure. But aren't we building and growing? Aren't we, All right, Paulinho and Kudus came in. Simmons needs a bit of time to settle. Go again in the next window. The problem is, again, I'll say it's now. And I'll ask this to all of you. Which manager comes in as a track record of turning things around in 10 games to the level that these fans want? Again, James, you're starting to wind me up now. James, the difference was Ange had injuries and was 17th and lost every single week. This manager has injuries and is making us hard to beat, and we're not conceding many goals. There's a huge difference, James. You can use injuries, but you've got to make do with what you've got. So, listen, Frank will be judged like every other manager. Of course he will. If Glasner came in, he'd be judged like every other manager. But think about it, right? I said this yesterday on Glasner. No, this is not true. When you look at the stats over the 18 months, we were always heading that way. So this isn't true. This isn't true. Whatever manager you bring in, let's say you bring in Glasner, right? And this is the thing. When you bring in Glasner, all the fans that are asking for Frank, adapt, change, be flexible. Just remember, Glasner doesn't change for love nor money. Now, I like Glasner. I think Glasner's a top manager. But Glasner has the one way of playing. So I'm going to ask you the question. When Glasner comes in, right, let's hypothetical. Glasner comes in, and in his first 10 games, let's say he loses 3, 4, 5. Right? Everyone will go, why is he not trying anything? Why is he not changing anything? But he doesn't. That's his thing. When he gets it working, it's brilliant. When he's got the right pieces for the puzzle, he gets it working. It's brilliant. But this is exactly what people are asking from Frank now. Change, tweak, adapt. You'd be saying the same thing if it was Glasner. You'd be saying the same thing if it was Glasner, right? And we'd be saying the same thing if it was Iriola, who doesn't really change. So I think we've got to be careful what we ask for. Can we see a clear direction of playing style? No. Have we bought in all the right positions we need to see that? I personally don't think so. I think that patience, time, a bit of maturity is needed at this stage. Patience, time, and a bit of maturity. We're 10 games in the Premier League into a new manager. And again, I've said this, I'll say this till I'm blue in the face. But yeah, essentially this. Essentially, I won't say it in those terms, but essentially this. You've got to buy the right footballers to play the way you want to play. And unfortunately, we didn't do that in the summer. We know that. We know we didn't. Lots of people said it didn't matter and it was a great window. And I think now a lot of those people are starting to actually take a little backward step and go, we didn't actually utilize this transfer window. People rate Glasner over Frank. Sure. Okay. There's no problem with that. Glasner and Frank were my two favourites for the job. But what I said, Carlson, was if Glasner came in and the wing backs weren't working week in, week out, we'd all be saying the same thing to him, wouldn't we? Why aren't you doing this? Why haven't you got the players you need? I think that we've got to a stage now where the problem is I'm seeing when we win games, When we win games, it seems to be, yeah, but it was only them. It was only them. It was only them. It was only them. When we lose games, it was, well, the manager's crap. And it's like, well, sure, but it has to go both ways, right? I mean, he's only been here 10 games. And this is what I mean. You know, when I said earlier, guys, this is the problem. Nobody in our fan base has got the stomach for a build. The next manager won't get the stomach for a build. Right? This is the problem. Whichever manager, are we going to give a manager a year where we say, right, work it out, get the kinks out, get the bad results out the way? Are we gonna be that club, that fan base, or do we just want instant everything's great? I don't know. So I think we have to ask the question, right? We have to ask the question: how patient do people want to be to develop something? If it's over the course of 10 games that you expect everything to be great, I'm going to put this out there now. You're going to be let down by whichever manager comes in. I mean, instant success. I mean, look, yeah, we're Tottenham. And absolutely, Ben, we're Tottenham. You don't get instant gratification. Look at Arsenal. How long have Arsenal been building to get to this level? Took Man City the first year under Pep. They couldn't understand his tactics. Oh, I agree, Andy. Andy, as I can say, I can always tell the sensible ones, but it's madness. But Reezy, when you're saying it shouldn't take a year, so why did it take Man City a year? Why did it take Arsenal 3 or 4 years? Right? Why did it take Bournemouth a year? Right? And when you're saying we saw a clear style of plan direction under Ange, I don't think we did. I think we saw a clear style and direction of how we get beat every week that didn't develop and change. As I've said, Frank needs to develop and change. But that doesn't take 10 games. We're all very, very needy. We were just very, very needy as a fan base. I get it. I get it. I get it. We want our club to win everything. We want to be amazing. But what we can't do is give a manager 10 games. Dan, he's only had 10 games. He's only had 10 games. When we're talking about I don't think football fans understand what adapting means. Adapting doesn't mean you change your formation every week. That's not what adapting is. This is not a football game, right? This is not a football game. We've seen this year, we've played wing backs, we've played 4-3-3, we've played 4-2-3-1. But he's only been here 3 months. We've seen 3 different formations. But it's not enough. And people still, but we want this, we want this. Like, whoa. You got to look at the squad, you got to look at what's available. As I said, Dan, that you completely ignored. The last 3-4 games, we've only had 2 fit centre backs. So I've realised when I do that way round, it looks wrong. I've got to turn it round for the camera. We've only had 2 fit centre backs for the last 3 or 4 games. How do you play wing backs when you've got 2 fit centre backs? I think we've got 3 fit centre backs for Tuesday night, right? And this is the problem. Everyone thinks that adapting is changing weekly. If you do that, the players are just going to be so confused from one game to the next. I think there's a time and a place for it. You've got to have the personnel. Right now, you've got 3. If Romero is fully fit to start now, you've now got 3 with no sub-defenders. Right? And that's the question you got to ask yourself. That's the question you got to ask yourself. If you start the centre-back, 3 centre-backs, one of them gets injured and you've got no centre-back on the bench, now your back three's gone out the window like that. And this is the thing. Fans can say very, very easily, just do this. Got to have the personnel. As I said to everyone in the window, I don't think we bought the personnel to really do anything. I think with what he's got, he's doing well. Listen, I don't want to block people today. I've had enough of this. What do you mean, Ange? I wasn't Ange out until the end of his first year. So this is silly. This is silly. Ange had a very good first 10 games. And then after that, it just went like that for the rest of the season. Right? I'm bored of talking about Ange, to be honest. I'm really bored of talking about Ange. Right? He's gone. He had 2 years. He's gone. I think that we've got to ask the question. Right? You've got to ask yourself the question. With what he's got, has he actually done badly? I would argue and say we've got a lot more points now than I thought we would have. But James, this is a different conversation. See, James, what I've noticed by your comments in the chat, no one said that. See, listen, because I'm asking for calm, right? Because I'm asking for calm, doesn't mean that it's excusable for one shot on target at home. But it also doesn't mean that we all need to go into utter meltdown over it. So I think what I see from a lot of YouTube chats is people conflate. People conflate. So Dan, okay, but you just ignored. For the last 4 games, you've had 2 fit centre-backs. You've got to have centre-backs on the bench as well to play this formation. Come on, you've got to put the coach's mindset on. You can't play 3 at the back when you don't have 3 fit centre-halves. You can't. You can't play 3 at the back when you've got 2 fit centre-halves. You need 4 minimum. You need 4 fit centre-halves if you're going to play 3 at the back. You've got to have one on the bench. So, again, but you're saying take the time to work out it's not worked. There's only like 3 clubs that have got more points than us. So it's not like it's not worked. I agree. See, again, this is what I like. See, someone like Gregor, I like it. Sensible. Yeah. Last game was a massive disappointment. Of course it was. He'll know that. Of course he can be criticised for it. People, again, not you, Gregor, but lots of people conflate. Critiquing Frank, yes. Asking for his head, that's what I fight against. I think it's just silly. I really do think it's silly. You've got to bang on. Oh, bang on. Thank you. I'd love to watch us win every game and lift every trophy. But realistically, we're still trying to undo years of fuckery. Patience is a virtue. This is what I don't understand. There are people that have said for years and years at this club, Spurs haven't had a plan, haven't had a process, haven't been coached. But then 10 games into a coach's era, and it's, can't see what he's doing. It's like, what? He's had 10 games. He is undoing years and years of poor recruitment. I think everyone just needs to take a little bit of not everyone, you know what I mean? Just a bit of a chill pill. Just a little bit of a chill pill. James, what I do find funny, mate, I do find funny is I don't know who these people are that are genuinely looking at this squad and thinking we should be doing better. I look at this squad and I'm like, where's the goal scorers? Where's the creators? Where's the hold-up striker? Where's the left wing? I'm looking at this squad going, nah. And I called it out in the summer. James, if you remember, I called it out in the summer, and every show I went on, I got berated for saying it. Now we're down the line. Look, if you actually look, James, right, look at the conversations we're all having, right? The conversations we're all having is what formation do we play to get the best out of a squad that's not been put together properly? Right? This is the point, right? If you don't put a squad together properly, I said before the first game of the season, every show we are going to have, every game, sorry, we are going to have the same conversation. Who plays left? Who plays there? Can we play free at the back? Can we do this? Can we do that? Again, this is what happens. You've got all those fans in the summer going, I don't mind if you buy players late in the window. Again, they don't get it. They don't get it. If you don't do what you need and you don't do things properly, unfortunately, you're going to have many bumps in the road. Now, the difficult thing for human beings in general is when you hit bumps in the road, how do you deal with it? Now, what we've seen from a portion of our fan base is the first thing is we've hit a bump in the road and it's manager out. We've hit a bump in the road, manager out immediately. By bump in the road, I mean 5th in the table and still in the Champions League with a game at home. Right? That's the bump in the road at the moment. This is the bump in the road. If we get to the bump in the road and it's, oh my God, we've lost 5 league games in a row. Yeah. Questions need to be asked. Questions need to be asked. But at the moment, we're not there. If you look in the, I mean, look at, if you look at our Premier League form, right? 1-1, lost 1. 1-1, lost 1. Right? We won 2, lost 2 of the last 4. When we lose, it's manager's got to go. When we win, oh, don't like the style of football. So basically, the only way the managers, forget Frank, the only way any manager is going to be able to get everyone on board is to play scintillating football and win every week. Steve has said, who does our fan base think we're realistically competing with position-wise in the Premier League? Good question. It's Man United, Newcastle, Villa, Chelsea at a push. Then there's sides like Palace and Brighton Hove. I completely agree. Completely agree. Completely agree. Dan, but we don't have a number of fit centre backs to play how you want to play. I don't understand this. You've got to have fit centre halves. Maybe, has anyone thought about this? Maybe when we were all going, why does Thomas Frank want to buy another centre half? Maybe it was for something like this. But you can't play free at the back if you've got 2 to 3 fit centre backs. You've got to have more. You've got to have a couple on the bench, a minimum of a centre half on the bench. The answer can't be, oh, well, Paulinho can fill in there. You can't have a whole philosophy around a DM might have to drop into the free. We're not. Look, that's then the same problem as not having a left winger. So what you're condoning, Dan, is that we don't have the centre halves, but we play free at the back, but we don't have a left winger, but we don't play a left winger. Like, it doesn't make sense, like what you're saying. I'm not saying never go to free at the back, hence what the show is titled. But I think you've got to have the players capable. Simo, I did a post about this yesterday. We're 5 points above Eddie Howe. Does that mean Eddie Howe should be sacked? Let's look at the league table. Right? Honestly, this is what I love, right? And I completely agree with you. He can play there, but would I want to take him out of DM? Absolutely not. So again, what we'd be doing then is weakening one position on the pitch to strengthen another. And that defeats the whole point and logic of going to the free at the back. Now, if next week Ben Davies, Takai or Dragoshin are fit, then sure. Right? So, right. But again, so this is the point. So, Dan, you see the hypocrisy in what you're saying. There's no left winger, so play wing backs. Well, there is left wingers, they're just not very good, so play wing backs. But now there's no centre back, just shoehorn a DM in there and then adapt again. So all we're doing is, what you're doing is just kicking the can around the pitch as to what's weaker. Kicking the can around the pitch. And you've got to have the players fit to do it, Dan. This isn't I don't get this. This is not rocket science. You've got to, if Dragusin, Takai or Davis are fit next week, then you can play it, right? You've got Danso, Van der Ven, and Romero, then one of them on the bench. Right now, when did you last have 3 fit centre-halves? Romero was fit enough for the bench at the weekend. So, no, you're not listening to what, oh, Dan, I'll give up. I can't do it. I have enough with the trolls. You're not listening to what I'm saying. Frank has used him there twice because we had no centre-halves, mate, in the cup games. That's very different to, this is my formation, this is what I'm going to do. You did this in the summer, though, where you wanted Romero to come out of centre-half and go into centre-mid. You constantly want to weaken the team, weaken one area of the pitch. But you always do this, Dan. You constantly want to weaken one area to strengthen another. All you're doing is taking away strength to make weakness and putting it somewhere else. It's not rocket science. But again, this is exactly not how it works. This is exactly not how it works. You need the DM if you play 3 at the back. Of course you do. Because the wing backs naturally go forward and you need someone to protect the back 3. It's not how it works at all. You've got to have, again, personnel is everything. The personnel is everything. You can't say, let's play 3 at the back when you've got 2 fit centre-halves. It's just, I genuinely don't get it. Well, Lord Rodney, this is what Dan says every week and then doesn't stick to his own thing. Play with the cards you're dealt. Cool. But let's put Paulinho at centre-half. That's not the cards I've been dealt with. Dan, you're now turning into a troll, aren't you, mate? What do you mean? He had no fit centre-halves, Dan. Dan, no centre-halves to play against. He played there against Doncaster. We had no one else to play there. There's a huge difference between having to put him there and choosing to put him there. What are we doing here? Mate, I just find it staggering. I find it staggering that, one, people can't understand why Paulinho played centre-half against Doncaster. It blows my mind how people cannot see why that happened. And two, I'm all for the 3 at the back. I'm not saying I'm not, but you've got to have the players fit to do it. What Dan is asking to do is remove one of your best players this season and put him at centre-back so you weaken the centre-mid. I don't understand why we would do that by choice. I genuinely don't. This is the point I made all summer. If you do not buy the players you need, this is going to happen. Pete, I completely agree with you, Peter. No, I'm not. I'm just saying he's trolling me now. No, I'm not. I didn't read it angrily in my head. My point was, right? My point was, Dan is advocating playing 3 at the back. Fine. Yes, when you've got 4 fit centre-halves, you could play 3 at the back. But he's advocating you've only got 2 fit centre-halves, so you put a DM into centre-back to make the midfield weaker, to have a player out of position at the back. You might as well just not have the left winger then that we're talking about. That's what I mean. It doesn't make sense. Who? There you go. Which centre-half? Byfield? 16 years of age? Yeah, but Vuskovic wanted to go and play. Sean, we know that. But this is the thing, Sean. For his development, I'm so glad we didn't. I'm so glad we didn't. Just listen. When the player himself comes out and said, "I want to play. I want to go on loan." How do you do that? How do you say that? Sure. So now let's look at this. You can bring him back, and he'll play what, one game. And then you've got now Van der Ven, Romero, Danso come back. Davis is back fit. Dragusin to cut. Like these are the bigger things that the coaches have to think about versus the football fans for one. Yeah, I think Sean, it's a difficult one, isn't it? I think it's a really difficult one because could we do with Vuskovic right now? Sure. But for his long-term development, I don't think it would have been great. And he would have been playing just a few minutes here or there. But look, maybe, I said this earlier in the show, maybe when we were all going, why does Frank want to buy another centre half? Maybe it was for this. Maybe it was. I guess we don't know. I guess that's there's the $1 million question. None of us know. None of us know. Will he be ready to start next season? Are Van der Ven and Romero not going to start? No, not for me. I think if 4 or 5 centre backs are all injured in January, yes. I think if Van der Ven, Romero, and Danso are fit, and Takai is back, and Dragusin is back, and Davis is there as well, then I think you'd end up just having him not in match day squads every week. And I don't think that's good for him. Again, I'm thinking about the player. I'm thinking about the player's growth. Dragusin, again, I don't know. When are these players back? There's the question. When are these players back? I just don't know. But for me, I don't think it's... by the way, Sean, I said I'd only go through at the back sometimes. I don't want to go to free at the back every week. So I don't know if bringing him back to play free at the back every now and then is really the way. Let's be fair. Danso, Romero, and Van der Ven will be the 3, right? They'll be the 3. Then Dragusin will be the 4th. And then Takai and Davis, 5 and 6. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. I'm more concerned in January, not with the back, because we've shown we can defend. I'm more concerned in January for getting what we need. And you all know the 3 positions I want. You all know the 3 positions I want. And I say I want. I think we desperately need left winger, ball playing midfielder, and striker. I think those are the positions. Now, do I think we're going to go and get all of those in January? No, I don't. Yeah. It's a difficult one. It's a difficult one. What I'd love to see, guys, I'd love to see that Spurs have got a plan for January. Yeah, I saw your show earlier. Sean, let me know if you want to come on. Let me know if you want to come on. I saw your show earlier about Jonathan David. I'd take Jonathan David. I think it gives you options. He's quick, scores goals. I would definitely look at that. By the way, I'd take a number of these Juventus players. I'd take Yildiz, Vlahovic, David, Locatelli. I suppose it all depends if any of them want to come to us. I feel that we've... Oh, hang on. I'm just going to send Sean the link. Hang on. Let's send Sean the link. I feel that we need to add something, don't we? We need to spice it up. They need to spice it up. Mate, listen, I've got nothing wrong with clubs getting a player on a free and flipping them for money. Fair play. Bar Yildiz Juve rubbish. Well, they're not rubbish, are they? I mean, they're not rubbish. They sacked their manager for a reason because they weren't doing well. Let's have a look. I mean, they're 4 points off the top of the table. I mean, it's and Vlahovic is not absolutely terrible. Honestly, I don't get, like, this is what we've done all season. Yeah. If we this is what we've done all season. We look at all these players at other clubs and call them terrible, but then say we need better players. Well, Carlson, I mean, when you're saying it's not our main problem, we're not scoring goals. I think it's a huge issue. I think it's a huge, huge issue at Tottenham Hotspur to bring in a striker. That's me. Hello, mate. You all right?
So, what's cracking?
Not a lot. Just talking about Spurs' problem apparently isn't up front. I think it's a huge issue for me at the moment. But let's start with that, because I saw your show with Johnny. You're talking about Juve possibly letting Jonathan David go.
Apparently, his agents have been shipping him around to Tottenham, to Bayern Munich, and this has come from Sky Sports Switzerland. So, not the sort of typical barrel scraping dregs of content that I'll put out. You know,
not your usual sources.
Yeah, listen, I'm happy for HP Source to give me a tap on the shoulder, for for caught offside, any of that stuff. Football Insider. But this one, Sky Sports, is Sasha Tafalieri, whatever his name is.
Oh yeah. He's normally quite good.
Normally quite good, right? So, especially with Italian stuff. So he says that he didn't say this. He just basically said that Jonathan David is struggling to hit the goal. He's got 1 goal and 1 assist in 11 appearances. But if you actually look, I don't really follow Serie A too closely, but when I looked into it, he's had 11 appearances, but the vast majority of the minutes have been like 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, whatever. So he hasn't really, he's struggled essentially. And I just think that the logic behind the move, if it's true, is that they're struggling for cash, and they saw a free transfer, probably gave him a couple of million quid as a signing bonus, or 5 million, whatever, brought him in with the intention to flip him in the first opportunity. So, and he's probably okay with that, but he hasn't really settled in. So it's a dry market, Sav, right? The striker market was loose and wet and lovely in the summer, but it doesn't look great right now. So you look at Tottenham and you're thinking, well, what are the realistic options out there? On the bottom end, on the kind of the punt end, you've got that sort of Francolino Jew guy, DJU, from the guy from Guinea-Bissau who plays for Midtjylland, who scored 11 and 10, and not just in the Danish league. He's doing it in the Europa League. Mm-hmm. You've got Samu Agahawa that's going to cost you like a king's ransom, who's done brilliantly.
Yeah, lots of people keep talking about Samu, don't they? I think you're right. It is a very dry market, and I don't think there's no transfer's ever a sure thing, but definitely in this striker market, I don't think you look at anyone and go, "Cool, that's guaranteed 20, 25 goals a season."
100%. There's a risk with any of them.
The one I want, and again, I don't know whether this is the Thomas Frank connection. I want Tony by hook or crook, because for me, he ticks so many boxes. Premier League experienced, big, strong, physical, good in the air, good with his feet, great penalties, got that little bit of arrogance as well that I think you do need. Not all arrogance is bad.
Thomas Frank relationship.
Right. Thomas Frank's the one who brought him in and brought him through. But apparently there's a lot of difficulty when getting players out of Saudi. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but to do with the tax.
Yeah, I think you have to spend, if you go to Saudi and you leave within 3 years, then I think you have to spend. I'm also not sure on the detail, but I think it's something like, if you leave within 3 years, you have to repay your tax, because you wouldn't be considered you'd be considered like, essentially you're not a citizen, therefore you're essentially a non-resident alien or something, and then you'd have to pay English tax. And the guy's earning 500 grand a week.
Yeah. But does that count if you were to take him on loan?
No,
because then
I
surely
so.
he's still a Saudi resident, right? I don't know.
I think so. But here's the struggle for me. What's the motivation for? Is it Al Ali? I'm not sure where he's at. I think it's Al Ali. What's the motivation for them to like say, oh, you know what, we've been paying you 500 grand a week. We'll cover half of your salary, and Tottenham or whoever else can pay 250 grand a week, right?
Yeah.
What's their motivation to go? Yeah, go on then, piss off back to the UK, and we'll cover half his salary, because no one's going to pay him 500 grand a week in the UK. No one's going to take on all of his money, are they? So,
no.
you know, I'm not sure it's 500. I think it's 400 grand a week. I think it's not 500, but whatever. It's an obscene amount of money. You know,
if it was someone like a Harry Kane, you might get somebody this day and age go 500k. Yeah, but I mean, listen, I like Tony, but he's not that guy. He's not. You're not bringing early
world class, is he? No, exactly.
But when I look, and we had this chat briefly the other week in the WhatsApp group, when you look across forwards, starting to, I don't know the answer, because I don't think the answer is at Tottenham. There's the first thing I'll say, Sean. I think we put together a mismatch of forwards that there's excuses that can be made for all of them. But for me, there's no real hard evidence that any of our centre forwards are that guy. Yeah. Like Richie gets a lot of praise for working hard and this, that, the other, but he's never been that guy.
Yeah, I'm not hearing it. I think the guys.
Yeah. Solanke's had one good season in the Premier League and now starting to pick up injuries for the last year and a half and yada, yada, yada. Mawani, the Frankfurt Mawani was brilliant. Didn't work out at PSG. Had a good loan spell at Juve. Let's be fair, so far this 3 months has been a failed experiment for dead legs, injuries.
He's not getting the ball though. When he's been playing like against Chelsea, I don't think he got the ball. I don't think he got the ball passed to him once. And there was a 10-minute spell when he played off on the left wing where I thought he was all right, but I just think that he's a victim of the setup as well. You know,
I just feel that it needs I feel like this formation needs like when I watch Voldemort of Newcastle.
Yeah,
it goes into him. He holds it up to his feet. He's got good feet. I hate this, Sam. I'm going to say it anyway. He's got good feet for a big man. Lays the players into the game. He's good in the air. I feel like we need our version of that. It doesn't have to be a 25-goal a season striker, but I do feel that we need somebody with that.
I thought he cost like 45, 50 million. I didn't realize he cost 70 million quid apparently.
Yeah.
You know, that's the going rate for a striker that, I mean, look, Sesko, certain people are saying that he's starting to show bits, but he hasn't scored any goals, has he? He hasn't done anything. I think it's a super dry market. When it was a more liquid market, people were still overpaying. Do you want to drop? You know, if you want Samuel Agahawa, and by the way, like I definitely think that there is a trend right now in football. Anyone that's heard me say it, I won't go into detail on it, but I think the trend right now is physical athleticism, you know, strength, size, all that stuff, because the game is moving in that direction. But if you go and buy all those things, you might be late to the party on that. And just like you look at Aston Villa that have got rid of Monchi and they brought in the guy from Sociedad, and his sort of his like eye talent, ID or whatever, is on young youth centric project based players. I kind of feel like they're late to the game on that regard, because everyone else has been doing it for the last 2, 3, sometimes 4 years, like in the case of City and Chelsea. And so like everybody's fishing in that pond, and now you've got an expert, but the trends is cyclical, like it's like flares, right? Like everything kind of goes in circles. And I just wonder whether you're a little bit late to the idea. Like I don't know what the solution is here, because I genuinely I'm angry with. I was really angry with Chelsea, and I was really frustrated with the football. And I definitely think that there's merit to people being upset. But at the same time, I think that if you saw Bournemouth City yesterday, Bournemouth went after City and they got absolutely punished. Right? They got absolutely punished by a team that loves that. Like they've still got a blend of technicality and young and smaller players, and that are more gritty. But then they've got that absolute worldie of a Haaland at the top, who's just an alpha baller.
What does City want to play against? Do they want to play against a team like us that will be hard to beat and say, come on, break us down? or do they want to play against a Bournemouth that
A brave.
let's be fair, both Haaland's goals in the first half, they were defending on the halfway line. And the ball breaks through, and that's the trap you leave yourself open to. I agree with you, Sean. Whilst I'm not saying I like the style of play we're playing at the moment, and I put this in your chat earlier, this is the conundrum. Do you keep it tight, or do you get yourself some good football, but you're left wide open? Because if we had gone to Man City and lost 3-1, would people be praising the style of play, or are they upset that we've lost away to Man City?
This is just the kind of hypocrisy of the human condition. Like, it's only acceptable, and it's also only acceptable to a percentage of the fans to play ugly and win. Right? If you play ugly and lose, it's unacceptable to everybody. If you play pretty and win, and you do it consistently, then you're a hero. If you play pretty and lose, then you have the flip-flops that are just never happy either way. Like, I want my cake and I want to eat it. And that's unfortunately the way it is. But I think that Thomas Frank's in a conundrum because, like, it's not just him and his style that affects games. If you look at Bournemouth, that had the brave, like the kind of the confidence and the courage to try what they tried against City, and they came up short. And I think that the game has moved to this situation where so many teams now want to just play ugly because that's just the way the game has moved, that you can understand that the realism of the situation is that Thomas Frank thinks that we haven't got the squad to be able to play pretty football and win consistently. Even Arsenal are sacrificing pretty football to win, but they are and this is the other part of the conversation, is they are in a situation where they have a realistic outcome of winning the title. Tottenham don't. 17 teams in the Premier League don't have a chance of doing that. And so as a fan, you're like, well, if I'm not going to win anyway, then at least I'm not going to win the title anyway, then at least I want to see enjoyable football. And I'm not going to get relegated anyway, then at least I want to see enjoyable football. But again, should you pander to the fans? And if you do, and if it doesn't work, you're going to get sacked. If it does work,
this is exactly what I was going to ask you. Right. And this is where sometimes if we remove our fan hats, obviously we are fans. If we remove our fan hats, as a manager, are you looking and saying, I want to appease them, right? And if we lose, well, we lost, but we gave it a go. Or are you saying, hang on, my boss, bosses, they're not bothered about free flowing. They're not bothered about defensive football. They're not bothered about transition. They're bothered about where are we in the league and how much revenue are they making as a business at the end of the season. And this is why I always think it's very difficult. Listen, Sean, you know me. If I could have it my way, I want to watch Barcelona under Pep Guardiola in the peak. That's what I want to watch. I'm not watching Spurs right now and going, this is great.
That's possible.
But I looked at West Ham yesterday.
It's not possible to do that. It's not possible with Tottenham squad to do that.
Agreed. But I looked at West Ham yesterday. West Ham in need of a win. What did West Ham do? Right? Hard to beat. They had like 24% possession in the second half. They just tried to counter-attack Newcastle at every opportunity. Now, my mates are West Ham fans saying it's boring, but we needed a win. Like if we had opened up, they said West Ham would have.
I think that they were protecting something at half-time, but I actually thought West Ham went after Newcastle. I thought it was a really good first half of football. But West Ham don't have the squad to do it either. And unfortunately, I was having this chat last night with that Lawless fellow, nice guy. I was like, unfortunately, for the first time in a few years, there's the added jeopardy of relegation. Because traditionally, I think there's this argument of like, if you're a Fulham, if you're a Brentford, if you're a Brighton, if you're a West Ham, if you're a team that's sort of stuck between 8th and 15th, then in reality, you're not going to win a trophy and you're not going to get relegated because the three teams that come up go down. And so you can understand why West Ham fans want to see good football because they're not going to see successful football.
Sure.
So they might as well they want to see some entertainment.
But they also need football that keeps them in the Premier League.
Well, that's what I mean. But like that hasn't been a risk for the last 3 or 4 years. This year, all of a sudden, there's that risk again because Sunderland have come up and done well, and Burnley are doing well, and Leeds are doing well. So it's an added ingredient into that cocktail. But I think that Tottenham fans are caught in this weird zone where, you know, they want their cake and eat it. I genuinely do think that Tottenham fans, myself included, you want to see good football and you want to see successful football. And anything other than both is kind of unacceptable to parts of the fan base. You know, some fans will tolerate boring 1-0 wins. Other fans will tolerate, you know, exciting 2-1 losses. Occasionally,
I'll tolerate this. I'll tolerate this while we're building. I'll tolerate this whilst we're right at the start of this journey. I won't tolerate this if we get a year down the line and this is still what we're seeing. But Sean, you're right. We're in a weird position. A lot of these other clubs, the Palaces, the Bournemouths, the Fulhams, they're never going down.
Yeah.
Right. And they're not expected to make top 4. They're not. Let's be fair. Even now, no one is looking at Bournemouth and going, that squad will get top 4. They're in a good form and blah, blah, blah. Spurs, we're kind of in between that.
We've been knocking on that Fort Knox of the top 3 or 4 teams for the last 20 years.
Right. So, and this is the difficulty. As fans, you go, well, hang on, we're not winning the league. We're not expected to win it. Let's just see lovely football. As a manager at Spurs, I reckon your remit that you're given, whoever it was, whether it was Levy then, whether it's Charrington or Vinay now, I think your remit you're being given is, you're right, we should be knocking on that door. If you fall short of 4th or 5th, but we've given it a good go, fine, but do what you can to get into that conversation. Now, I'll ask this. I'm not condoning the football we've seen. If we had seen Spurs had opened up, like against Chelsea, against Everton, and the results had gone differently. So the football was nicer on the eye. It was more aesthetically pleasing. But Spurs was sitting here now, 6-7 points worse off, which, by the way, would have us in 17th. Would the fans be saying, really like this style of football? Or would they be saying, Thomas Frank, shit, we're near the bottom where we were last season?
Well, yeah, just look at the Ange Postecoglou arc. Undefeated in 10, singing his name after 3 games. Everyone's happy. Good football. No one knew who we were then. Right? And then the Chelsea game happens. Down to 9 men. Could have won 2-2. Ended up losing 4-1 in the 90th minute or in injury time. And they got applauded off the pitch that day. Because that was the first taste of defeat. But we played really well when we played that sort of Tottenham way. And the Tottenham fans at the stadium applauded the team off the pitch and still sung Ange Postecoglou's name because we gave it a good go. How long did that grace last?
Mate,
not much longer. It's like it started to turn pretty quickly afterwards because then people forget about the context of the injuries that came. Right. And then we went on, we lost 4 or 5 of the next 7 games or something, right? And we had to arrest that. And Ange is a perfect example of someone that play that way. When it wins, will sing your name. And Daniel Levy's coming out. The first opportunity he can after 10 games. We've got our Tottenham back. I'm going to lean into this because the fans are on side. The second the fans deserted Ange Postecoglou for the most part, Tottenham sacked him. And I think that's the other problem, right? You're saying like the dichotomy of the manager, that conundrum of do I appease the fans or do I appease my bosses? And they want different things. The bosses are also at the whim of the human psychology. The bosses are also listening to the fans, but the bosses get to hide behind the fact that they can use Thomas Frank or Ange Postecoglou as the shield. Yeah, every time the fans turn, who is it that gets fired? It's the manager.
No,
right? So
mate, of course.
The fans like, the boards are like, we need you to finish top 4 by hook or by crook. But if it's by crook and you don't finish top 4 and the fans get pissed off, we'll give them what they want as well. We'll throw them to the wall. We'll throw you to the wolves. It's gladiator stuff, mate.
Don't you think a lot of it as well? By the way, I've just seen something really funny on Sky Sports that Wolves are in talks with Gary O'Neill to return to Wolves. You can't make this up, can you? Look, I do think a lot of it, Sean, as well, is about. I said I was speaking to my brother-in-law yesterday. He was around mine, and we were watching. He's a Chelsea fan, so that wasn't fun. But he was talking about the unrealistic expectations. He says whenever he speaks to Spurs fans, he said it doesn't matter what your squad is, it doesn't matter where you're short with wingers, strikers, mid, whatever it is. Spurs fans seem to think we've got to be fourth. We've got to be fourth. We've got to be fourth. And he said, the problem with that is, should you be? Like right now, people are going, like in the chat, Sava, what if Spurs drop down to 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th in the league at the moment? Well, I don't think we're a top 4 team, Sean. I don't think this squad is top 4. I don't think it is fifth, if I'm brutally honest. So
not with the injuries we have.
No,
but
Kulu...
you have to look at the league right now, though, and recognise that it's an irrelevant thing. Like there is 3 points that separates fourth from 11th, and like you say, 6 points, 7 points separates. What is it? Go on, yeah. So we're fifth. We're on 17 points. So yeah, 2 points separates fourth from 11th.
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
And how many points to get you into the relegation zone?
I think it's 10. Hang on. Here we go. All right. So 10 points above.
7 points separates 17th from 4th.
Yeah.
That's why the league is kind of irrelevant, because if we lose to United, which is not an impossibility, and then lose to Arsenal, which is a distinct possibility, then we could be easily bottom half of the table after the break, after the Arsenal game. And then Tottenham fans that are looking at the false reality of the Premier League right now. You know, this is the thing. I don't think people that want to.
You'd rather be up there right now. Like you'd rather be higher than not, because at least it shows you're doing something. Like I know that there's not many points between it, but it shows that we're scoring a lot and that we're conceding not a lot. So it does show that there are reasons why we're above those teams. But you're right. The Man U game is massive.
It can change very, very quickly. And if we lose to Man United, if we beat Man United, always forgiven for the Chelsea game to a degree, and then we're probably sitting in third again or something like that, and then everything's cool. But if you lose to United and then you lose to Arsenal, and all those teams beneath us pick up a couple of points here or there, and we're suddenly sitting 11th, the pressure is right on Thomas Frank. So I don't think that the logical argument of people that are trying to be balanced, if you've got a point to score, or if you've got an agenda, or if you've got like if you're embedded in a certain camp one way or the other, I don't think that those that want to defend Thomas Frank should be utilising the league table as the rationale for doing so, because I think that the league table can look incredibly different very, very quickly, and then that argument can be flipped on those people in a heartbeat.
What it does show is how tight this is. So from second to Newcastle, the team in 13th, from second to 12th is 6 points. Now, that won't be like this after 20 games. This won't be, the league will have started to sort itself out. What we're seeing already, Sean, you can see this, right? Take Bournemouth out, right? The cream has already risen to the top. Look at the top 3 already.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? The top 3. Bear in mind, this is a Liverpool team. This for me, I think, and again, this will be different for different people. I actually think the league is weaker than it's ever been. I think the fact that Liverpool are third and have just stopped a 4-game losing streak after 10 games shows me that I think it's going to be like this all season, Sean. I think it's going to be.
It's also a point that I've been making forever, mate. That draws are not to be. You shouldn't celebrate a draw. Like for me, if the game is ever if it's 1-1, then you might as well throw caution to the wind in 80 minutes and go for it, because like I said before, you can draw 30. You can go undefeated in a season, draw all 38 games, and still get relegated, right? And if you win 13 games, and you lose 25 games in your season, 25. If you win 13 and lose 25, you would have more points than if you went undefeated but drew every game. So I think that every team should, if they think a draw is a good result, it really isn't, because it doesn't help you. It might look good, or we've gone unbeaten, but like Liverpool have lost 4 games and they're sit third because they haven't drawn anything. You know?
Yeah. No, it's mad though that they sit third after 4 defeats in a row. It's utterly mental. But look, I've got a feeling that this season between 5th place and 12th place is going to be very tight. I think it's going to be very tight. I don't see the quality anymore. And people who think this is harsh, I don't see that there's many teams that actually play nice football anymore. I don't see there's a lot of quality.
The game's boring. The Premier League is boring now. The way the trend is horrendous.
I agree,
it doesn't last for long. I hope it's a short-term thing.
Oh, mate, absolutely. I hope so. But look, what on the positive side, Tottenham have got a chance now. We've got 2 games at home to do 2 things. One, solidify the Champions League status in terms of hopefully if we win tomorrow night, we can be in that top 8. 2, stop the rot at home, right? And 3, solidify ourselves in the top 4 by the end of next weekend if we beat Man United. This is 2 big games coming up, Sean. 2
Massive.
big games.
Before the break. Yeah, beat United, beat Copenhagen, and we're on 8 points. We need 12, so we've got 4 more games then to get the last 4 points, and that should get us into at least the playoffs. Beat United, and we're probably sat in 3rd or 4th again. Lose both, meltdown.
And the meltdown going into a 2-week international break.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
See, the thing is as well, it just takes a bit of pressure off. Do you think we can win both?
Yeah.
Have we got the players to win both?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't recognise that. There's only one player in the Copenhagen team who I actually know. Is that kid out of Dortmund? That like young kid who plays on the right wing. I forget his name off the top of my head, but like he's a baller, like a superstar or super talent or whatever. But I don't really recognise any other players in Copenhagen's team. You know, and I do a lot of work on Y Scout and shit, and I don't really recognise many of them. So I think that they're we should be able to beat them at home. But I don't know, man. Listen, I think that the way that the fans treated that result, the reaction from the players walking off, the way they did, you know, effing and blinding and pissed off. I think it's a bit of a weird atmosphere. It's a powder keg at the stadium. And look, I don't blame the fans, by the way. Like I've got a season ticket. I didn't go to the Chelsea game because I was fed up with what I've watched. I'm not going to Copenhagen because I was fed up with what I watched, or what I've been watching. I think a lot of people are like that. My ticket didn't even sell. I put my ticket up on the Tottenham thing, the exchange, 2 weeks ago, and my ticket to Chelsea didn't even sell for whatever reason. But I can only imagine that's just because there's not that demand. And when the fans are like, you're still getting these weird pricing mechanisms. You know, I've always said that the pricing should be based on supply and demand, and the Tottenham haven't figured it out that they're incorrectly pricing the tickets, and they probably should change the pricing, but they can't now because the people that have been bought into the cup guarantee scheme, the season ticket holders that pay up front and make sure that so they can take that money early, those people are paying top whack for those tickets. So they can't reduce the prices because that would piss off the most loyal of all the loyal fans at the home stadium. So it's a difficult one, but I genuinely think that we should be able to beat United at home. We usually do okay against United at home, but they are a better team and they've only got 1 game a week. And I completely concur with you, by the way, when I've heard you say recently, people underestimate the value gap between a team that only has 1 game a week and a team that has 2 that's playing against top European teams. It's a massive.
When did Man U play last? They were 3:00 Saturday, right, against Forest, right? Yeah. So in that time we play Chelsea, then Copenhagen, and in that time they've got their feet up, resting. Cunha and Mbeumo are just sitting there going, "Yeah,
we'll analysis. How do we get at Jed Spence? How do we get at Mickey van der Ven? What's the weaknesses? How do we do what Chelsea did to nullify the set piece threat? They got all week to practice. We don't. We got to deal with Copenhagen first. Yeah. You know."
And it's what I said last night. I think the Champions League is the cure and the curse.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like we needed it, but we also could have done with Thomas Frank having 1 game a week with this squad to figure it out. But listen, that's what happens when you qualify for the Champions League. Look, Sean, I don't want to go on too much longer, but give me
I've got to jump anyway, man. I've got to jump off in literally 20 seconds. But what was you going to say?
I was just going to say, just give me a score prediction for both games. That was it.
Oh, okay. Copenhagen, I'm going to say 1-0 Tottenham. Probably a boring game. But at Man United, I'll say 2-1 Tottenham.
Well, they're saying that Kudus hasn't trained today. And again, that worries me greatly because then now you've got now you've not really got any outlet. And hey, it is what it is. Sean, you jump off. Thank you very much, guys. Okay. You can catch Sean tonight on the Spurs 5. So please make sure you get over there. See you, mate. Yeah, so we heard there was no Spence, no Kudus, no Bergvall. Now, Bergvall, if I'm not wrong, can't play. If I'm not wrong, Bergvall can't play due to the concussion rules. Is that correct? Somebody in the chat will tell me, but I'm pretty sure that if you are taken off due to concussion, there's like a 10-day, 8-day rule or something that you can't play. I'm not sure. So then that will mean that we're looking at, I mean, hopefully Kudus with Xavi Simons and then whoever out on the left. I don't feel like we I don't really want to see I'll be honest, going back to the point of the show, I don't really want to see Free at the back at home to Copenhagen. I don't want to see it. I don't feel like we need 3 centre halves. Maybe Kudus was just resting today. 6 days. Sorry, 6 days. Okay, so still from Saturday. Yeah, so back in contention for would he be? Yeah, back in contention for Man United, right? So from Saturday, Sunday, back in contention for Man United. Hang on, someone else is saying it's 2 games. Yes. If you, as I said earlier, if you've got the fit centre halves, and I don't think that we need 3 centre halves at home to Copenhagen. I don't think we need that. Listen, as I said, I can't wait personally, guys. I can't wait. I was not a fan of the transfer window, as you all know. I was somebody who very much was disappointed that Spurs did not do what they needed to. And I can't wait to get to the January and the summer window. I think there's a lot of building work to do. Frank's got a lot to figure out. He deserves criticism for Saturday, absolutely. But as a fan base, let's see if we can actually support the team. And hopefully there's a good atmosphere tomorrow night. Hopefully there's a good atmosphere. I might see if I can go. No, I'll do the game. Anyway, guys, big up to Andy Lester with the one and only Super Chat today, who said, one of the only content makers I can stomach at the moment. Listen, Andy, I really appreciate you, buddy. You know I do. I'm just trying not to do the whole meltdown thing. I mean, it's just, as somebody who's worked in business and built teams and projects, managed projects and programs of work, you realize everything doesn't click into gear in 10 days. And unfortunately, we've got far too many. I need it now. We must be amazing. And I'm not one of them. I said, whoever comes into this club has got a massive job. There's been years and years of mismanagement, poor recruitment, changes in the board level, changes in the coaches, in the medical staff. I think we've got a lot of work to do. And whether it's Frank, whether it's another manager who comes in, whoever it is going to have a big job on their hands. But if we don't get behind this manager, are we going to get behind the next one or the next one or the next one? Or are we just going to sack managers every 6 months to a year? We'll see. We'll see what happens. Guys, girls, you've enjoyed it. Not sure if I'll be back later today. I might be. I might not. But take care. We'll be back tomorrow for, obviously, it's match day, isn't it? So we've got a match day in the morning. And then we will have the watch-along in the evening for Tottenham versus Copenhagen. Take care. Much love. And as always, actually, let me see if there's anyone to send you over to. Let's not be that guy. Let's see if there's anyone live. 1 second. Is anyone live in the Spurs community? I don't think anyone's live in the Spurs community. I'll send you over to Saeed. Saeed is live. If you get there, just say fhtv or Sava Raid. Much love. Take care. And as always, come on, you Spurs.